Welcome to Launch Code, a premier business podcast, starring Evan Hafer, Matt Best, and Jared Taylor.
Welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with David Rutherford.
And I think for me, there's a differentiating factor psychologically for a lot of guys when you're talking to like dudes that haven't lived like that, where they're like, you know what?
Well, you start talking about the infinites of space, Evan, and people are like, what are you fucking talking about? Space-time continuum?
Yeah.
What do you... No.
They're like, what?
What is the difference, though? What do you see as the difference?
You know, I don't know, and I think that's why the world needs, not to push it back to you, but the world needs guys like you, and corporate America and men and women both, like they need people to push wisdom out to get them to live. Like you gotta live, and it's way more important than driving to work every day at 9 and getting off at 5, and in doing that you are. And I now I'm getting down a rabbit hole, which is weird, but man, if you put yourself into the factory, and that's what you're gonna do.
And this is an interesting question right now because you just purchased a factory.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and as we were walking around, and because what I love about you is you see what you want, the future of your success vividly, and many people don't have that capacity because you are capable of expanding your mind beyond the normal constraints, right? Right, I'm not going to get the funding. There's no way I can build out this space right here. I can't buy another roaster and put it in Tennessee. I'll never be it. But you don't have that constraint. And as we're walking around, man, I'm thinking to myself, wow, he's building this headquarters. He's building this He's building this space where there's going to be cubicles and brick and mortar. And this is a guy that lives, as the adventure evolves and what's going to happen next. Because I'll bet everybody in this room, every cent I have in the world, which is like $1.50 right now, but I'll bet everybody in the room that, Evan in 5 years is going to be a radically different dude than he's sitting right here right now, because that's what he does. He evolves. But then you're like, yeah, but, the next plan is we're going to be here. And then we're going to be over here. And then maybe we're going to be here. And I was like, it's like, dude,
maybe.
He's a radically different guy. I met Evan 3 years ago. He's radically different now. Like, he was a stud then. He's like 2X, 3X, 4X that now, yeah.
Well, but that I think that's you have to force, like it's for me specifically, and I don't want to make this conversation about me, it's just more of a thought process, is you have to put yourself into pressure. You have to pressure. And when I say that, it's like heat and pressure, that you can use those analogies where you can come up with the idea of how do you change you. Well, first and foremost, you have to be able to make the actual decision that I'm going to change, because if you let life change you, then you're going to have a lot of catching up to do in order to do that. But if you say, my life and the way that I direct it is about evolution, and it is like this, when things are hard, I smile. When they get really fucking hard, I smile. And when I say that, it's like the harder it gets, the more I'm going to learn. The better ultimately I'm going to come out of it at the end of the day. And it's just like anything else, where this company to me, it initially was like I was playing chess, right? Well, now it's like I'm playing fucking 50 games of chess while balancing on a fucking basketball
upside down.
Yeah, and like juggling fucking flaming chainsaws. So, but the harder you get, the more you're going to fucking put the pressure to yourself, and the more you will be able to evolve. And I think, like, and to go back to a thought you were having, or you're asking me earlier, well, I'm building a factory. But you as a business owner, me as a business owner, a business or a business is an ecosystem. It's an ecosystem within an ecosystem. And, I look at it very much like this is our island that we get to create for X amount of time per day, per week, per month, per year. We get to invest our time into this company, into this ecosystem. And if you create a positive environment, if you create a place where people are like, fuck, I love it, this is great. And you know what? There are a ton of people that are like, I just want to work in a great place with great people. And my life will be defined with the friends that I meet there and the things that I do. And, you know, they're not going to want to go scale some fucking mountain that's like, you know, pitched black ice and maybe fucking fall to their death or whatever. They're not going to want to do that, and that's fine. But I want to be able to at least be part of that, where I can create a company that allows them to live on this island for 40 hours a week or 80 hours a week, where they're like, this is fucking epic. And
changing perspective.
Yeah. But it's the people within the company, they're like, I'm willing to put myself in the pressure box to have the company change my life. And when I say that, it's not always going to be for the better, because who am I to say I know what's better for that person? I love it when I hear guys like Baker. I hear this story, like stories from dudes all the time, where they're like, hey, BlackRifle just wasn't for me. I actually, you know, bought a fucking Sprinter van, and, you know, I'm cruising around like, you know, running fucking ultra marathons or whatever. I'm like, hey, that's fucking rad, dude. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Yeah, of course you don't want to work in the front retail space. You're out fucking cruising around in a Sprinter van, running fucking ultras, but
seeking some truth.
Yeah, it's badass, man. Like, I love it when people are just self-defining, putting themselves into that. And I don't know where we started that, but
well, it's this pressure concept, and I call it the positive application of pain, right?
Okay.
And when again, you go back to the component of pain, right? We have pain from day one, coming out of the womb, painful as hell, but something about the way our brains are wired, forget it all. Actually, up till like 3 or 4 years old, infant amnesia, right? Because the pain is so excruciating, the fear every day of not knowing if you're going to survive or die or whatever. Pain, pain, pain. But that's the sequence of evolution, right? Then you come out, you know, you go to that next child development years. Fast forward, you're where you're at in your adult life. Now, because pain is so challenging and elicits all these other responses, and most importantly, that those fears, man, we try and avert pain on a regular basis, right? We de minimis. We want to be more comfortable than we are uncomfortable, and that's a problem, right? Because we imagine that the painful we're experiencing, and it's not just the pain of having to do, work 80 hours of work in a week in a startup, or the pain of going through a divorce, or the pain of your business completely failing, right? It's how you frame that fear, and it's how you're able to look at that pain. So when I talk about pain with people, is the pain, the pathway of pain is to your salvation, as long as you can consciously say, every painful experience I have is positive. If I can elicit that perspective, right, is what you're talking about. Every day above dirt is a blessing. Every second I have is an opportunity, right? So start applying or, analyzing your pain and say, all right, how am I addressing the pain that I'm experiencing? Is it my physical pain? Is my neck jacked up? Well, what am I doing to fix that bad pain? How can I turn it into a better pain? Mental pain is what we mostly deal with, especially up here, right? You talk about truth and that truth seeking, or that's how I reference your experience. And you go, man, how much negative speak do we have every day in our lives, right? And when I work with private coaching clients, that's one of the biggest things we start with. How often every day are the phrases, the terms you're using in your brain, how you're questioning yourself, your avoidance for risk, how you're processing fear, how much negativity is going on up in that, that noodle of yours. And when we break it down, it's consuming people every day, right? Whether it's you're looking at your social media following and you're like, fuck, man, that dude's doing the same thing I'm doing, but he just got 10,000 new followers, and I just lost 400, man. What the fuck, Completely negative aspect, instead of reframing that shit in your mind. And then emotionally and spiritually, the big ones, man, nobody here really likes me. Man, I don't like myself. I don't think so. That consistency of negativity, it oozes out into every aspect of your life. So reframe that positive application, right? And our instructors taught us how to do that from day one. And selection, man, guess what? And they were brilliant because they were able to have us change our reference of pain into it being the most positive aspect of our development through negative operant conditioning, right? Think about that. Negative, day in, day out. To get a high five or a fist bump from an instructor, never going to happen.
Never.
Ever going to. It's negative. Oh, yeah? Fuck you. Negative. Well, eventually, through that stress inoculation, where do you start to get it from? The dude who's next to you didn't quit that day. And he's like, come on, dude, next time he hammers the shit out of us, let's scream hoo-yah, the fuck you hoo-yah, hoo-yah, and then all of a sudden that confidence builds. You can take that fear and it just builds and builds until that hammer, and I love the pressure concept, right? Because it's, in the anvil of life. We are, if you are not putting yourself on the anvil and allowing life to smash the holy living shit out of you and sharpen that blade and all that shit, man, whether you're reading the book of 5 Rings or How to Win Friends and Influence People or God, Tony Robbins or the Bible, I don't give a shit, man. But reframe the pain in your life so you can say, my God, I'm going to walk into office and I'm going to come and I'm going to get next to this guy who's putting it all on the line, who is fucking living in the pain with a smile on his face, and I'm going to fucking drink it in. And that's going to make me better because he's going to help me reframe it, man.
I'm fucking motivated right now, Baker. I'm motivated out of my fucking mind.
Let's go write a book.
I'm gonna fucking kill Dave in front of you guys. I'm gonna sacrifice him to the fucking gods.
If it's gonna help you, I'll do it. If it's gonna take this to where I know it's gonna go,
this is
so
fucking cool. I just gotta say, this is so fucking cool, man. Because Dave and I talk. How often? Once a month? Well, once every other month.
Once every. It's I'd say. Round range 15 time, and before that it was pretty frequent. It was every few months. And then once it went, it's a little bit slower. But we text every now and then and just to chat. My biggest thing is, I as a now being as that secure male where I'm at right now, my thing is I worry about you, right? And because you are working 7 days a week, you're working 20-hour days, and then I'm like, man, he's grinding. Man, I know he's grinding. I know he's focused. And then all of a sudden I'll see you with your family, or I see you with your dog, or I'll see you out in the woods. I'm seeing you with Kyle, I'm like, okay, he's okay. You know, and so, but it's just the greatest thing in the world to be here sitting with you right now, man.
I feel the same way. Dave, for those of you that have not heard Dave, Dave is he is the positive injection of fucking absolutely all things good. It's so funny because in range 15, Dave came out. How long were you out there? A few days, right?
Just 2 days.
Yeah.
Because
Dave is that guy. So regardless of what you were in your past and the teams, when Dave comes into a spot, everybody's like, fuck yeah, Dave's here. This fucking Dave just got 10 times better. Let's fucking go kick somebody's ass. Let's go make ourselves better fucking right now. And it's like, man, Dave is the guy where it's he can frame this stuff in such fucking epic and radical prose. You should be a fucking poet. If you aren't, I would be surprised if you do not have fucking poetry.
I have reams of it.
I guarantee you do.
Hold on, it's interesting that you said he walks into a room. So we were here yesterday. Dave Reardon, the producer, Jack Mandeville was in the room.
Oh, I love that man.
And he goes,
"Can I just
do you remember
stop?
that?
Can I just stop you for one second, Jack? I want to tell you how much I love you for 2 reasons. One, you're one of the funnest human beings that exists on this planet. And 2, you have just this incredible heart and focus and conviction towards just putting a smile on people's face, and that's a blessing.
So if you could have seen his reaction yesterday when he found out you were going to be here today. We were recording some stuff, and he was sitting over there, and then after we were recording, we were kind of taking a break before he got on and chatting. He's like, Dave Rutherford's going to be here tomorrow? Are you fucking serious, man? He goes, that motherfucker is the most positive guy. Oh, my God. Did he not?
Yeah.
2 fists in the air. He's like, that dude is so... Like, he just went off, and I was like, settle the fuck down.
I'll tell you,
I hadn't met this guy yet.
This is like it's like soul food, man. The last couple of days, like, I'm the luckiest fucking man alive. Like, Kyle Lamb all day yesterday, which is like he's
amazing.
He's like fucking.
Back when we were all like, I got a good idea. He was already 5 years into it. You know what I mean?
Dude, Kyle's written like fucking 30 books. He's a fucking historian. He's
invented every training thing there is.
Yeah.
He's taught everybody on the planet.
Kyle is the badass grandfather that like every kid
he's
in the world
Obi-Wan
wants.
Kenobi.
Yeah.
He is, dude.
Obi-Wan.
Like,
he's Yoda, man. He's Yoda.
He's OMG, one man gang. That's what it is. Man.
Kyle could fucking start a cult tomorrow, and I would be the first guy to join.
Oh, dude, I'd run there. I mean, we could put on the color, like Wild Wild Country. Kyle would be like that dude, like this, going like this.
Rajneesh, baby. Rajneesh.
Yeah. Wild Wild Country out in fucking Oregon. Let's go, Kyle.
Yeah, Antelope, Oregon. God, that was some weird shit.
That was awesome, man.
Dude,
I loved it.
What a fucking incredible documentary.
One of my favorites, hands down. I love cults, man. They're fascinating.
They're fascinating, right?
Fascinating.
They're fucking fascinating. That documentary, and I'd watch that because it was being just advertised really hard
everywhere,
on Netflix. Yeah. And then I watched it, and then I think Rogan had talked about it too on one of his shows.
Yep.
And that it was fucking mind blowing. Well, one, it was mind blowing in the fact that like they were onto something. They were onto some shit.
Brilliant
Brilliant
concept.
Yes.
But
a horrible execution.
But what is the perpetual reality, man, is that good doesn't exist without evil, bro.
Doesn't. Yeah.
It can't. There is no separation. It is an impossibility.
Yeah.
Right? And I was just talking to Kyle Kingsbury on the On It podcast about it too. And they're really about the totality of human performance at On It, and they do a great job, and they're really experimental with their belief systems and all that. And I love it, man. But one of the things that I just kept coming back, and I was like, yeah, we're all trying to get to the peak, right? That peak of that place of enlightenment, that goodness where we're all together, that good sense of whatever. But guess what? There's cats out there trying to get to that other peak where they want to watch us explode, right? Yeah. They want to see us fail. They want to see us in misery. They want to see our suffering. They're the negative insurgency, right? The legit. Yeah.
There is the contradiction, the direct contradiction of Aubrey Marcus. Somewhere there is the exact
100%.
Opposite.
Well, they live in the dark web. They live they live online. They live in the in the negative cults out there that are existing around the world, right? There are people that honestly say, hey man, everybody, this whole sense of respect and hey, we can do this together collectively in a decent way. They're like, man, no, that shit ain't real. And now what's even crazy to me is that we're seeing a lot of people that once professed that mindset are becoming isolationists themselves as well too. And I'm like a lot of people are like, aren't you so pissed? I'm like, no, for me, this is brilliant. This is what I do. I study fucking the human condition, and it's fascinating to me. And people are like, well, don't you want to see more at ease? And I say, we will. Once that pendulum comes back, and next thing you know, hopefully not as bad as World War II or something like that. But it's just the process, man. It is what we are.
What do you think? I've got like a ton of questions that we gotta try to answer. But what do you think? We'll just dive into America just a little bit. What do you think the big ailments of American society are? Like if you could check them off at the top, and they don't have to be in any priority, but what are the ailments that are making America sick?
It's a good question. And I don't think we're sick in terms of like, man, we have cancer, we're sick. I don't think that at all. I think we've got a little cold right now, honestly. It's not as bad as everybody thinks, right? I don't. And that's because all you got to do is go back to 1865. Let's try that. Or when was Gettysburg? 1863, where 58,000 people that were family members died in 3 days on a field in Pennsylvania. That's bad, right?
While people set up a picnic to watch.
On the side, right? Yeah, that's bad, right?
Yeah.
Right? Or let's just go about where, let's call, 1943, right? Where, I don't know, let's say we're 50 million people into the slaughter, right? Where they were really getting cranked up at Auschwitz, right? They had pumped out about 4 million people and annihilating them, just decimating, burning families, babies, shooting them in the back of the head without a fuck all care in the world, right? We're not there, everybody.
Right.
We're not even in the 1968 race riots where 13 cities are burning, billions of dollars in damage, people marching to the streets in an unjust war in their perception and civil rights movement. Martin Luther King just died. Robert Kennedy just died. The world is collapsed. We're not even there.
No.
So everybody take a step back. And that's the problem. Nobody wants to just take a step back and say, hey, man, all right, you're obviously really upset about something. Help me understand it. Why? Okay, well, explain that to me. Well, why? And explain that to me. Why? And explain that to me. Why? Okay, I think, is this right? Am I getting it? Okay, check. Well, may I express myself and answer each one of those, or just give a broad spectrum of what I feel? All right, yeah, cool. Now, what in this opposition of opinion, of opinion, what in this opposition can't we live together with?
Right.
And the fact that because, all right, we've been doing a pretty good job, and if, quite frankly, if you don't think we've been doing a good job, hey, here's what I'd like you to do. Go over Turkey and then go into, Syria, or go into, wherever you want to go. And like those, did you see the thing about the bikers? Perfect example. Couple, and I hate to use, listen, I'm, me, I'm got a lot of faith.
Was that real?
Pretty sure it was real. That was a real story.
That was real.
That was a real story, yes.
I thought that had to be a fucking...
What happened?
There's no fucking...
Two people living in a cubicle, working 9 to 5, round the clock.
Oh, yeah, I sent you that link.
Yep. They went overseas to ride their bikes around the world.
And vegans.
I know...
No, they were.
I know a vegan who used to be a damn neck who was bad to the bone, dude. And so I don't know about the whole vegan being wimpies like that. I think it's more of the general cultural aspect, right? Which they felt everybody innately is a good person. And we're going to prove that by wandering down into, ISIS-held area, right? In Tajikistan.
Right.
And a car was driving by. They were on a road, pulled over, 6 dudes got out, beat them to death, stabbed them to death, and then drove on and killed them. Right?
Yeah, they thought they could go and love people into changing them.
I don't know if it was that hippie-ish.
That was what they said. Yeah.
They said through kindness, they believed the genuine nature within the human condition of acceptance would kind of shine through through the ideology.
Well, people are born good. We're all born, I think,
I don't
good.
think all of us. No, that's too much. No way.
Large percentage.
Yeah.
Large percentage, but not, no.
I think there's truth in that statement. People are born. Then it ends.
But there
pull
is...
my adjective out of it.
But there is a prerequisite for... psychopaths, sociopaths. They're wired for that. They're just not functioning.
I think so. I think you've got a significant... I would equate that to, like the grizzly guy, the dude that went up and lived with grizzly bears.
Perfect example,
where
dude.
it's like, hey, man, like these are wild animals. Like they will eat you. You're actually injecting yourself into the food chain with something that sees you as food and or could see you as food on an empty stomach.
Threat too.
Yeah, and a threat. And there's a lot of things going on there. And unless you're a definitive subject matter expert that has spent a significant amount of time studying these animals, I would highly suggest against this activity, right? So,
and
for
was
me,
told that repeatedly. Yeah.
and I think that would be the same thing. It's like, hey, don't go to ISIS-held territory unless you've spent a significant amount of your time studying and or understanding who they are, and then
the proclivity of their, their masochism, right? Yeah, unless you really know that and accept it.
Yeah, and I think that's I think when you inject yourself into I guess humanity at that level, because it's different. It's like injecting yourself into Africa to a certain degree, and then going out and trying to survive with the hyenas and the lions and everything else. Man, there's a chance you might live, but I guarantee you're not going to live by talking to a hyena or a lion going, "Hey, dog, let's just all be friends."
Sit
like that's
with your little clicker.
Hey, buddy, but look I'm not food.
Here's a fig Newton. Let me pet you.
Nope.
Let me read you some Hobbes, and maybe we can fucking get along. I don't know, but I just know that's probably what I would suggest against that activity at any
It
point.
is bad.
I know for a fact that every Cape buffalo that sees a human being wants to kill it. I've been there a lot.
I went on a safari like that too, and I was like, "What do we got to be worried about?" And they're like, "Cape buffalo, hands down."
Black death.
Yeah, black death. So, do I believe America? We got a little cold right now. What everybody needs to do is just take a step back and recognize, no, we can't all think the same way, but we can have a vigorous debate about it without hating each other.
And I would challenge anyone listening to unfollow every single political account or account that focuses on politics. Unfollow it. Don't follow it. So I just drove from Seattle to San Antonio. A couple stops along the way. It took me 7 days. I didn't look at a single political account. And if you look at how many controversies happened during that 7-day period, it's mind-boggling. It's like, how do you keep track of it? Go up to someone and say, "Hey, man, what were you mad about 3 days ago?" Shit, man, I don't remember. Well, dude, you were pissed off about something you don't remember? Nah, I forget. What are you mad about today? Oh, this thing.
Now, the tough thing for people to acknowledge, though, and I believe this is true, if you spend 5 seconds studying anything in history, we like to brawl. There's a component of us that like to brawl, and when you add power, we like to be heard, and we like to brawl. And when you add more power and the manipulation of how information is distributed, now you can really shape lots of things.
The Roman horde mentality.
Thank you very much. Groupthink, right, is one of the most destructive things there is on the planet. And so, what do I teach my girls? Think for yourself. Ask why. Right. Ask why. The number one question you can always ask is why. And I think what the challenge is, and listen, everybody's like, I mean, it's just take a step back and I say, stop worrying about the 40,000 foot mark.
Right.
Bring it down a little bit to your world. What is the concentric rings of your world look like? Is your family squared away?
Right.
Well, let's start there. Let's even go smaller. Let's start even smaller, Evan, shall we? Let's start small. Are you good to go physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally? Okay, let's do a little work there. All right, how do you affect your family, your team around you? Are they good? Does someone need help there? Let's go there. Let's get a little servitude going, right? Now let's come into this wonderful work environment here that all you guys are building. How are you supporting one another here? Is there a component of that here that's happening day in and day out? All right, we think we're good. Everybody's doing good. Let's do a little outreach. Let's try and help people that are paying attention to us, that are listening to our podcast. Let's start the launch code so we can give people some direction with business. Let's do Drinking Brothers so we can make people smile and laugh and not take themselves so seriously. Let's whatever it may be. Let's start having a ripple effect of changing the tone. right? One of the greatest things that you ever see in any psychology experiment, right, is and one of my favorite ones is, they bring people into a room, they've primed them for negativity, right? This is really going to be a difficult test. This is really going to be hard. You got to sign these disclosures, all this shit. They prime them for misery. That's like, holy shit, what did I say? It's not going to be worth the $20 I'm getting for this. Oh my God. They get them spun up. They come in, they sit them down, they turn on the cameras, they put the light in their face, and they're like, all right, are you ready to begin? Yeah, okay. We love you. And we want to talk about love in your life. And you see them light up and they smile and they're like, that you can see their entire chemical makeup change. Just like that by shifting that prime, right? I do it with my audiences, right? I come in and I start out and I do this bit where I go, all right, every single day in the special operations world, you got to be fired up and ready to run into combat and run into, you got to be motivated to get shot at, and you got to be, you got to have a war cry, and everybody's got a war cry, right? And in the SEAL teams, our war cry is hoo-yah, and then I go, do I have any Marines in the room? All right, what's your war cry? They're like, oh, and I'm like, what does that even mean? That's like, I don't even understand that. That's like some guttural thing, and everybody's laughing. They go, Army, give me the Army guys. What's your war cry? Hoo. And I go, I don't even know what the fuck that means, right? I went to 18 Delta and, there'd be Rangers and SF and they'd be like, hoo, 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 hoo. And they'd have a whole language in Air Force. What's the Air Force? And one dude would be like, right here. And I go, you know what the war cry is in the Air Force? And he's like, no. And I go, 4, and everybody's laughing. And I go, well, let's do hoo-yahs, all right? This is Alpha, this is Bravo, this is Charlie, all right? It's a competition. Who's going to be the loudest, most devastating hoo-yah in the world? All right, Squad Alpha, ready, on 3, loudest hoo-yah in life. Hoo-yah, hoo-yah. Right, the uncomfortable old lady in the front. Hoo-yah, right? The middle group, and then I get, by Charlie, people are just going bonkers, right? Now all together, 1, 2, 3, hoo-yah. And I go, how does that feel right now? In 5 minutes, I just took you from like, what is this clown wearing red pants and long hair going to say to me, to, man, I'm really fired up. I'm excited to address whatever it is he's going to do, right? And motivation is real. It's a trigger. We need it. We have it in us. But we're also worried about what's going on internally, that we're afraid to give it freely to other people. And the greatest way you can do it is by loving someone genuinely, right? I come into the room, Evan, I think about my time. I drove from Mike Ritland's place. I did his show yesterday and getting ready for our 100th anniversary on the Team Never Quit podcast. And I'm driving here and I'm just processing in my mind, man, how much I love you, how proud I am of you, how blown away I am at who you are, what you do, the influence you're having, the lives you're changing day in and day out, and most of which you don't even know it's happening. You've got front sight focus and you're going, but then you're like, oh shit, this is big. I have more people. Let's help more. You're on Fox News saying, I'm going to hire 10,000 frickin' veterans, man. And I'm thinking to myself, man, the pride I have to walk in the room and just all of a sudden I'm going to see you and you turn around and I can just explode on you, that genuine nature. That's what I primed coming in. Everybody can prime that. Everybody in America, even if you hate the person sitting across from you to their core, you fundamentally do not believe in what they are, right? Perfect example is my brother, right? My brother, very popular guy, and he's a male model in the Silver Fox, one of the top Silver Fox models. But he's a staunch activist in the LGBT community. He is a left-leaning, progressive guy who cannot stand Trump, cannot stand a lot of the church, all this stuff. So you would look at us and like, my God, you can't have two brothers so diametrically opposed to these people. But when we come together over a holiday or Thanksgiving, and I don't get to see him much because he's an insane, he travels and works harder than I do. I prime myself to say it doesn't matter our differences politically, our differences religiously. I love the human being to his core. Man, and if I can start that, man, it changes the tone of which I ask him questions, the way I respect is this. man, and it's phenomenal. Now, don't get me wrong, man. You know, although I'm really working hard on becoming a true hippie, you know, right? A violent hippie, like Mitch Aguilar says. But that's very difficult to do, especially if you've been wronged by a particular group or person or something. Forgiveness is the greatest challenge in the world, and you know, for me, I really had to deal with that last year and the year before, going through everything, and now I've got a complete different perspective on it. But it's about that growth, and so, you know, man, we can cure this cold. It's not going to happen overnight, and we're going to bitch and moan about it, and you're going to have a certain number of people that are innately just want to brawl and don't want to get on board. But I think the majority of us can come to some sort of agreement to be heard, respected, and acknowledged, and then we can keep doing businesses, as we've done for 200 plus years, and creating the greatest social, not political, the greatest social experiment in the history of mankind. That's America.
God,
I think
it's fucking rock and roll, man.
I know.
Like you've left me speechless like 4 times now.
Me too. Which is pretty hard to do.
Like, I don't know if you guys can tell, he's a motivational speaker.
And I'll tell you what, and if you just go to my website, I can sell you 6-minute abs.
You know, the questions that I want to ask is, you know, obviously you got your 2 girls, then you're incorporating 2 more here real soon.
Yeah.
You know, what are you doing with them on a daily basis? You know, obviously I'm a father. I think any father and any father worth their salt is always thinking, like, once you have kids, you always think about your kids. Like, it never goes away. It's always with you. It doesn't matter, you know. And I guess being proactive and trying to be, I would imagine I know you are always trying to be a better father. What do you do, and what are you thinking about to become a better father?
This is the greatest question you can ask, right? If you're a parent, hands down, what are you doing to be better? And Evan, man, that is my greatest fear. There's no doubt. Well, you know, there's no greater fear I have than I might be messing up. You know, I might not be giving them the right tools to go out into this world that I know exists, that I can't deny them the reality of. You and I both know the magnitude of destruction that exists over there, here, all around us. And they're going to be subjected to that, and even more pronounced, too, because they're women. And I'm not being derogatory towards women, but, man, there are predators in this world, you know, that go after women. And with the objectification, is that right? Did I say that right?
Close enough.
Close enough. Thank you very much for that leeway on that one. You know, I freak out a little bit about it, and I'm like, holy shit. You know, I read, I don't know, 5-6 books about divorce and what to do about that, and girls, and I don't know how many books on being a dad for girls I've read. Everybody I meet, I ask, you know, how do you raise your girls, and, you know, what do you do when the boys start, and all this stuff. And the biggest thing I'm learning now is that you have to have a moral, a fixed moral standard. You can't have too much moral ambiguity, right? And which is tough for us, because doing what we used to do, that moral ambiguity was a benefit to survival. Well, how do you teach moral ambiguity to kids that are in the child development years, right? That can be, you know, sometimes you're going to have to, you know, lie a little bit to protect yourself, or sometimes you're going to have to be harsh to survive a certain situation, or, you know, all that flexibility, and you can't teach that now. So I'm like, man, what is the grounding thing? And one of the scary statistics, because I still work with kids, not as much as I used to, and which is really a hard thing to process, because that was what the base of Frog Logic was all about. You know, when I first started in 06, I found a statistic that by the time kids were like 13, they'd seen 1 million images, right?
Right.
Because of how prevalent the internet and everything was available. Now that image is almost tripled, right? You know, that's 2006, 2018. Right. That's tripled. So, you know, it's how do I compete with that?
Right.
I can't answer every image. I can't address every image. I can't stop their pure influence of, you know, shaking their butts and all that stuff. And I can't. I just don't have the capacity. So what I focus on is open dialogue and communication with this person I love, my new partner, this incredible woman who's dialed in, genuine, and really about co-parenting, really about that, saying, this is what I think. Oh, what do you think? Or what about, well, not just that, but which kid and where they're at and what they're experiencing. And then grounding it in this moral standard that we believe is going to benefit them. So when the insurgency comes at them and is like, you know, hey, here, smoke this, and it's laced with heroin and fentanyl, right? That they're going to make a decision, a good decision. Or that first boy who has been inundated with pornography since he was 8 years old and believes that's love or that's sex or that's power or whatever he's trying to perceive at 13, and is trying to force my daughter into a sexual relationship that early, that they can have the self-confidence and self-worth saying, nope, that's not right.
Right. And
be able to resist, right? So I really think that's the critical aspect. But to be open and honest about me, you know, and what I was like as a young man, and what I was like as a boy, and what I was like, and what I didn't get or did get, or where my shortfalls are too. Because I mean, man, every now and then I'll, you know, that blade handle come out. And just the other day, you know, my girls are going through a little hitting stuff right now, and you know, we were visiting some friends up in North Carolina. They have this beautiful mountain house, you know, that we go to, and they were doing some hitting. So guess what? They cleaned out the stalls where the animals were. And so when we came back, kept going. So guess what? They were scrubbing the toilets now, and I'm blade handing them, you know, and I'm thinking that that's going to settle in, and it's not working like I thought. And I'm missing the teaching moment to reinforce the behavior with the moral, you know, the moral integrity, the moral guideline that will enable them to manage all the other shit that's already at them.
Yeah. I mean, it's already, I think about it all the time. I mean, it's, you know, iPad at 4 years old, you know, and we restrict television, and we only allow a certain amount of time per year or per week, about 4 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And that's just based on kind of co-parenting ethos in a way that's like, hey, we want to be able to shape the environment. We don't want even a cartoon or something like that. It might seem benign, but it doesn't. It shapes the development and the brain development. It shapes the environment.
That I'm glad. I don't mean to jump in, but this is my biggest mistake I've made so far, and on a minor scale, is cartoons. I was like, okay, Netflix, they can watch whatever cartoon. Well, after a while, everything that we were doing, if it didn't go their way, was a heightened emergency. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, wait, why? What? Then I went back and watched their cartoon. It's one crazed emergency after the other in every single cartoon they were watching. I'm like, well, dude, as a guy who thinks he knows a little bit about psychology, man, I'm an idiot, dude, because I just allowed that to happen. And so now I'm trying to backtrack on it, and that's 1,000 times harder. Yeah,
you know, we were talking about this the other day. Like my daughter, like, she had no issues with vegetables whatsoever. She'd eat them, no issues whatsoever. Eat them nonstop in any meal, all the meals. My wife's an incredible cook, and she just stopped eating vegetables. And we were like, what in the fuck? You know, like, where did this come from? Like, and then it was like, I don't like them, yuck, you know, like the whole thing, it just like shifted overnight. It was shifted overnight. Months went by, and we're like, this is fucking crazy. This kid would have no issues eating like Brussels sprouts and spinach and fucking anything and everything. Like, didn't matter. It's food, and this is the food that's being served. We went back and we watched this fucking cartoon that she was watching. And this kid was having, tantrums over green and vegetables. And we're like, okay, well, that's fucking done. Whack. That's like, but both of us were like, we are idiots.
Idiots.
Like, idiots. Like, how could we put something so influential in front of our child, the most precious thing in our lives, and it's not a thing, the most precious life that we have in our family, and we just like, here, just watch some cartoons. The same thing that you're talking about, where we're like, fuck, man, dumb.
Really dumb.
Dumb.
But again, it goes back to that consciousness, right?
Right.
Where you were talking about, hey, I need to be conscious of decisions I make that ripple through people.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not, we often and I think as operators, we want to boom, boom, boom. We want to, check, boom, boom. I got the solution right here. Fix that. Got the solution. And you're making 100 decisions a day, like big decisions a day, maybe more, right? And it's like, man, all right, I'm going. But then all of a sudden you're like, whoo, this is one I need to think about.
Yeah.
This is going to have effects that is going to change lives. It's going to change perception, right? We often give people around us too much credit, right? Too much credit, not in a negative way, like, wow, they're dumb or anything, but it's like, oh no, they're keeping up. They understand where I'm at. They know where I'm going. They know what I mean, and boom. And then next thing you know, your kid stops eating vegetables and you're like, wait, what? Whoa.
Right.
But you can't see it. And and again, it goes back to, taking a step back and going, all right. And this is where, I really focus with people on purpose, right? And what is your intention? What is your purpose? Everybody calls it intention. You go to these ashrams or whatever. What's your intention? As before you walk into the labyrinth, set your intention. Well, when you start your day, set your intention. What do you want your mission to be at the end of the day? Well, that's some real shit, man.
Right.
Especially when it comes to how you care about people, how you influence people, right? You guys right now in this space, and in particular on these microphones, are influencing millions of people. Millions. Not just a couple thousand a week, like, when, 10 years ago or whatever when you started. I mean, millions and millions of people are hearing your voices, are paying attention. They're kids. How young? What's your youngest listener? How often? How many of the episodes have they heard?
Right.
All right. How many of the episodes are your children going to go back and listen to? How many of the people you're going to do business in the future with? What have they heard? What are they listening to? Right. Granted, you can't become crazed by it, but you also have to really start to go, all right, what information am I putting out? And for me, this shifted dramatically with doing the Team Never Quit podcast. Because prior to that, a lot of the stuff, you go back and look at my earlier videos and listen to a lot of my earlier podcasts, and, there was a lot of that soft mentality, right? The warrior mentality, that shit.
Right. And
that's fine and dandy in certain, capacities, but bro, that's not real influence. That's myopic. Right? That's not healthy, because what do I want to turn into, 1,000 people into a bunch of armor-wearing people that are ready to go destroy other people because they think differently, you're fucked up, you look differently, you don't believe in the same shit, fuck you, and it's like, holy cow, that escalated quickly. And that was me, man. I'll never forget, man. I'm running down the highway, minding my own business, doing my run, and fucking someone someone cut me off and I'm crossing a thing, and next thing I know, I'm chasing him down, and and I'm ready to go up and pull him out. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on, dude? Why? What purpose am I going to serve in that? What am I saying to myself by choosing that mentality or that behavior? Now, granted, you got to stand up for your beliefs a lot, but think about what it is. Take a step back and think about what your purpose in life is, right? And hey, man, God bless you if you want to make $1 million and you want to be powerful and drive Bugattis and all that shit. Go
No
for
interest.
it, right? But you're on that other peak,
Right.
Yeah.
and if you're on that other peak, then I hate to say it, but man, you're the enemy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be over on this peak, but don't get me wrong. And that's where, I love the sheepdog analogy. I mean, man, I want to take care of the flock. I want to preach, man. Don't get me wrong. And, I'm doing it here today. That's what my passion. I feel that's my calling. That's what God wants me to do. But at the same time, brother, I'll go back. I don't want to, but it's there.
Right.
But man, when you do have your flock and you do have these people and you are surrounded by people that are committed, and what's your purpose with them? And for me, it's like, man, the greatest thing I could ever experience is you finding purpose and watching that come to fruition. I'll never forget, brother. I'll never forget the first time I actually felt like I had real influence on another person. As an SQT instructor, we were doing IADs, my first time teaching IADs really to people that I like, oh, God, it matters, And this kid just couldn't get it. And I was like, what the fuck is your problem, you dumb? And I'm typical idiot, instructor. Like, this is going to benefit this kid if I scream at him negative. And just like I'm going to pulverize him into success.
Right.
And then I stopped, pulled back. Actually, someone pulled me back, one of my mentors, and said, hey, man, you ever think for a second that maybe you should stop screaming at him and just pull him aside and give him a little motivation and, give him some positive feedback? And I did it, went over, and he ran like a center peel and didn't miss shit. And he's like, bah, 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 doing mag changes, he's tapping out last man. And I was like, holy fuck, I'm an idiot.
This concludes part 2 of 3. Tune in next week as we conclude our conversation with David Rutherford.